I mean, honestly, the role model for leading with empathy for me was Satya at Microsoft, who came into a role that was a very difficult one, I think. I think he led that company and is determined to change the world by showing that empathy is a key quality. So that, honestly, if we're being honest about who's inspired us, he's inspired me to do that. I think he's proven that it's doable, and that by being empathetic and being accessible and vulnerable, that you can lead well. And I think ultimately people want that human connection. And so I think there are already people doing it.
I'm gonna bring up two stories that Jacqueline knows well, because in my role as Chief Medical Officer, I get to see what the 12 to 14,000 Microsoft partners are doing around the world. And when I see examples of excellence, they deserve to be broadcast and told on a global scale. And the examples that stick out to me are those that better look after the patient interest. So one that we know well is from Children's Mercy in Kansas City, and their cardiology team looks after kids with hypoplastic left heart syndrome. And despite a very dedicated team, the model is pretty archaic. The model of care is patients come in weekly and they get reviewed and they get sent home. It's not at all what you'd expect from a modern consumer-centric service. So they took the paper diary that these parents document pulse and weight and nutrition and all the rest of it, and they digitised it into a web form, and the parents are able to complete that at home. And because they're doing it on these modern consumer devices, they can take video as well. So all of a sudden now the care team is able to continuously follow the lives of these kids who can deteriorate really quickly. And in doing so, they get their information quicker, they are able to intervene when they see a problem, and that change alone, from a humble piece of web technology and some video, has redefined the mortality for this condition from between 20 to 25% all the way down to 3%. And it's amazing how much progress you can make with relatively little expense if you just think outside the box. And for the parents who are there at home, often 50% of their patient population are more than 100 miles away from the hospital. It means a lot to have that continuous lifeline. The second example that I think is fascinating and augurs where we're going is a Microsoft partner called IRIS. It stands for Intelligent Retinal Imaging Systems. And they looked at the fact that diabetics are poorly compliant with their annual retinal exam. You should get your eyes checked every year, but Cox Health, which looks after the Midwest, analysed their rates, and compliance was anywhere from 50% all the way down to 33%. So there are people out there not getting their eyes checked because you've got to schedule an appointment, it's a 2 to 3 hour procedure, it's uncomfortable, you've got to be dilated with drops and the rest of it. And as a result, patients don't do it. So what they've done, they've actually turned the ophthalmologist visit into a hardware software appliance. And you can put that in primary care, and it will take a patient through getting the perfect image of the back of their eyes. They'll pop their chin on a chin strap, it'll take an image of their retina, and it'll send the image not just to one ophthalmologist, but a pool of them up there in the cloud, so they can turn these images around really fast. Sometimes within minutes, always within 48 hours. And in doing so, they're able to correlate both the images with the pathology reports and train a machine learned model. So where we're headed and where we will eventually go is machines doing the reads of your eyes quicker, faster, and quicker, more cheaply and more accurately. So from a patient experience, this means that now I've got a 5-minute detour when I go get my primary care visit, or in theory you could put it in a pharmacy or a supermarket, and I get this important check done. So I think we're repersonalising and pivoting around the patient experience, and that's really important.